Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. This is Market Today. I'm Sakshi Batra and with me is Shail Bhatnagar. Well, we witnessed a strong start to the March series, which has otherwise been actually a soft one for the index historically. But even on Friday and on Saturday, we saw record highs on the benchmark indices consecutively. Saturday's truncated trading session also saw the Nifty crossing the 22,400 mark on an intraday level for the very first time, clocking in historic levels of 22,419. The big question is, will the Nifty continue to gather more pace, or will there be profit booking now at the higher levels? We will tell you all of it, but first up, the top headlines we're tracking for you this hour. Indian stocks are set to post fresh records this week as the rally deepens across sectors and investors pick up favorites in the banking, metals and pharma sectors. Meanwhile, investors and traders will keep an eye out on the US Federal Reserve Chairman's testimony on March 6th and March 7th to gauge the future direction of interest rates, even as the global risk on trade inequities takes root. Oil is showing strength. Very good morning to all our viewers on this fresh new trading week, and good morning to you, Shail, as well. Well, we have a good backdrop. The Nifty has rallied 450 points in just the last three trading sessions. And, very, very interesting point that all the investors must now keep note of. After this three-day surge, the Nifty is now only 155 points away from the level of 22,533. Now, what is the importance of this number? This number would be 3 times the bottom of 75.11 that Nifty had made in March 23rd of 2020. So that's the kind of run-up that you're looking at over the long-term period, Shail.
Good morning to you, Sakshi, and a warm welcome to thousands of people who've now regularly joining us on Market Today. Yes, the mood and the sentiment across the Lal Street is fantastic as far as bulls are concerned. And as you rightly mentioned, you're looking at a 3x move from the low of COVID. Quite frankly, I had missed that. I didn't know that this number was being looked at. For the moment, I think what's really key is 22,500. And maybe that is what we should look at. What's happened in the month of March, at least in the first 1 or 2 sessions, is that across the board, whether it's the Nifty, whether it's Bank Nifty, the 100, 200 and the Nifty 500 indices, you've seen a very sharp burst. And that signifies the start of a fresh upswing that's happening across the board. The Nifty is at a record high. It's only a matter of time when Nifty Bank will catch up a bit. Let's just focus on what the Nifty is most likely to do today. So mostly we'll see Sakshi a kind of a flat opening and consolidation before the index moves up to its next logical level, which is 22,500. A very, very strong move has been seen in the banks, pharma and auto stocks. You know how RIL and SBI are behaving. They are propelling the Nifty higher and higher. And what's really interesting is that the fresh GDP data, the fresh GST collections have actually added a kicker in terms of what sentiment is for bulls, and therefore they are propelling the index higher and higher. If you look at the Nifty options chain, it's intensely bullish. We are seeing in the money calls being vacated by bears, so there's short covering there. We've seen 22,550 open up for the medium term as far as Nifty bulls are concerned, and of course 22,750 also shows signs of being breached, but those are very initial, very early signs that are coming in as far as the Nifty is concerned. So therefore any dip towards 22,300 on the index needs to be purchased by Nifty bulls, and as again we've said repeatedly, buy and hold is a much better trajectory for the Nifty. If you have been into ETFs, remain there, probably put in another monthly ETF SIP on the index if you think that is possible, or any equity diversified fund which has a 5-star rating, has outperformed the main index for the last 10-12 years, is something that you should be looking at. Sakshi, what's really interesting is that we are seeing a global risk on rally. So the Nasdaq is about to hit a record high. The S&P 500 and the Dow are already at fresh peaks. Nikkei from Japan has joined this fantastic rally, and now you see weakness in the dollar index, which essentially means that commodities will now start to rally much further. The only sore point I think is crude oil at $84 a barrel, which is a bit of a dampener as far as prices are concerned, but that's not more because of oil strength, but it's more because of dollar weakness. So very good signs, and by the dip on the index as far as the Nifty is concerned, we are headed for fresh highs, Sakshi. There's no doubt about it. Kursi ki peti bandh lijiye.
Absolutely. Okay, let's discuss on the Nifty Bank as well. We've actually seen the Nifty Bank also coming back, in the front line, 1100-point rally on Friday. It did take a breather on Saturday's truncated trading session when it comes to the Nifty Bank, but still remained above 47,000 mark. On a week-on-week basis, the banking index has gained in the last 4 out of the last 5 weeks as well. And we've also seen, the big heavyweights like ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank also starting to perform now, and that's a bit of a breather coming in. What do you foresee for the Nifty Bank this week, Shail?
Sakshi, an absolute stunner of a rally awaits us as far as the Nifty Bank is concerned, not only in this week, but also for the time ahead. If you look at the daily chart, which has been presented to you, the weekly picture is fairly good. You see the highest level that we've seen in Jan 15, and the daily chart will give you a sign that there was a gap that was between 16th of January and 17th of January. Now the index is making all out effort to fill that, and the leadership has been provided by ICICI Bank and State Bank of India. Both of these counters are at a record high. Again, if you look at the Nifty Bank Nifty options chain, you see short covering happening in ITM calls, which essentially means that bears are sort of moving back and bulls are on the front foot. So these are the two pluses that I see as far as the Nifty Bank is concerned. And again, the momentum is led by across the board. ICICI Bank record highs, State Bank of India moving very sharply. These are the two stocks within the Bank Nifty. The entire PSU banking setup is fairly good. You see how Canara Bank is moving, how Indian Bank is moving, how changes are happening within Bank of India, PNB, Bank of Baroda. All these stocks are now poised to move higher because of the GDP number, because of the GST tax corrections. All said and done, Bank Nifty is looking stronger than the Nifty, merely because Bank Nifty is still yet to hit a record high, but the momentum has started, Sakshi. Last week's candle is what has been the deciding factor. You will see fresh moves coming into ICICI Bank, SBI, and the Bank Nifty in general, Sakshi.
Okay, so the Nifty Bank poised to move in a stronger note when compared to the Nifty, and banks like SBI, ICICI Bank could be in the forefront. Of course, the entire PSU banks is something that we'll keep an eye out on. What about the F&O space, Shail? Any particular stocks that you will be keeping an eye out on today?
Yes, Sakshi, and absolutely news driven. We'll look at ONGC. Remember, this is India's largest explorer as far as oil is concerned, and crude oil at about $80-84 a barrel is the highest since November of 2023. And ONGC, of course, has shown decent signs of short covering, and any higher prices as far as oil is concerned impacts ONGC positively. On Saturday, there was a bit of a short covering, and the stock is poised for a nice swing uptrade. The other stock that I will look for forward is NTPC. The company's announced a huge expansion plan of 17,000 crore rupees in terms of setting up fresh capacity at its existing plants for thermal generation. And if NTPC is doing that, there is absolutely no reason for BHEL not to follow suit. So these three counters, all three of them from the PSU basket: NTPC, India's largest thermal power producer; ONGC, India's largest oil explorer; and BHEL, India's biggest producer of thermal power equipment. Sakshi.
Okay, let's quickly look at how the global setup is for all of us to really look at. So globally, of course, the cues are positive. Even on Friday, we did see the Wall Street indices rallying in trade, the Nasdaq rising by 1.1% to 16,274. It did hit a new high on an intraday level of 16,302. Now, this was led largely by stocks like Nvidia, for example, that has already surged about 260% over the last 12 months. It gained another 4% on Friday. So it's a rally that's taking on, the kind of moves that we are looking at on the Nasdaq. Of course, the S&P 500 was the better index on a Friday move, 0.5% higher in trade, and of course, 0.2% of gains that were also seen among the on the Dow Jones as well. Now, Asian markets have also firmed up on Monday's morning trading session. We've seen Nikkei trading at another new high, and it's breached the 40,000 level for the very first time. And investors are now bracing for a week that's packed with central bank events and major data that will refine the market wagers from whether the interest rates will now start falling or not. That's something that everybody will be looking at. And trends on the GIFT Nifty indicate a slight positive start in trade today, and about 22 points of an uptick is what I can spot right now. As far as the flows are concerned, it was a thin volume trade on Saturday because it was just 2.5 hours of trade that we saw. So FIIs sold about 81.8 crores, while domestic institutional investors sold about 44 odd crore rupees worth of stocks on Saturday. As far as some of the stocks are concerned, let's keep an eye out on some of those stocks. I'll bring those to you on your screens as well. So Avenue Supermarts, that's the one that you need to keep an eye out on. It has opened a new store in Bengaluru. With this, the total number of stores now is at 347. Keep an eye out on that one. NTPC, the board has given an investment approval for the Singrauli Super Thermal Power Project, Stage 3. The current estimated cost of the project is 17,195 crores. SJVN, again from the power space, is going to be in focus. Its subsidiary, SGEL, has bagged a 200 megawatt solar power project in the tariff-based competition bidding conducted by Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam, for at a tariff of 2.66 rupees per unit. And of course, the tentative cost of the development will be 1,100 odd crores. Keep an eye out on this too. Real estate stocks will be in focus again today because Godrej Properties has agreed into an agreement to develop a township project of 62-acre land parcel in North Bengaluru. And the estimated booking value is 5,000 odd crore rupees for 5.6 million square feet of saleable area for this one. Signature Global has, talked about how its Deluxe DXP project in Gurugram has made record sales of 3,600 crores. Now, Brigade Enterprises have also launched new residential project, in North Bengaluru again. So Bengaluru and Gurgaon, both going to be, important areas of real estate that we will continue to watch out for. And of course, these three stocks will be, you need to keep an eye out on. Swan Energy, its subsidiary has prepaid its entire loan along with interest till date to a consortium of banks worth nearly 2,206 crores. So slight positive news coming in on that front, on the debt reduction front. Coforge is going to be important to watch because the board has now decided not to proceed with the proposed offering of its ADR, or the American Depository Receipts, which was approved in July and November of 2021. So that's the stock that you need to watch out for. Of course, this whole market will also be in focus as far as the primary market action is concerned. About 8 new IPOs, including SME and the main board IPOs, are all open, set to open for subscription this entire week. About 1,483 crore rupees funds will be raised cumulatively. There will also be some 7 new listings that will happen in this new week as well. So the primary market action will be a buzz too as well. Let's now welcome our guest on the show. We are now joined by a very special guest. Chakri Lokpriya now joins in with us on this very special edition. He's the managing partner of RSP LLP. Very good morning to you, Chakri, and good to have you with us at the start of this new week on Business Today television. Tell us, we've already seen those record levels on the Saturday's truncated session as well. The globally market cues look positive at this point in time. The macro data from domestic markets came out pretty surprising as well. Things look, they're all falling into the right boxes. How would you really look at the market setup now?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yes, you're absolutely right in terms of, all the correct tick boxes are being checked. And so, if you look at the current quarter gone by, the earnings have grown faster than the top line. That's because of the margin improvement and because of as supply chains normalize, raw material costs fall across various sectors. And so now we're waiting for the interest rates peak to start turning down. So as and when that happens, I think earnings will be revised up even more. And therefore, the market outlook, given that, the multiples are still fairly fairly reasonable, I think we are looking at a fairly good upside from current levels even.
Okay. Very good morning to you, Chakri, and a very warm welcome to you on Market Today. Always a pleasure to host you. We've discussed a lot of sectoral implications of this bull run, and the one that looks fairly prominent now is the banking space. Strong GST collections, very nice GDP growth, and the fact, as you rightly mentioned, the downtick in interest rates is due. When is the question? Why is no longer a theory that we are entertaining? Your top picks within the banking space, and how are you deploying fresh funds?
Good morning, Challengerji. I think it's important to look back, let's say look back at 2001, 2002 time for 2003 time frame. That was the last time when, India had gone through a first surge of capex. And after that, we had a 10-year run. And after that, pretty much then the downturn happened, etc. and all that. And now, for well-known reasons, the banking sector repaired itself in the last 3-4 years. And today their balance sheets are very strong. And now again, there is a surge in capex that is waiting to happen. We've already seen the first phase of government spending, and that is likely to continue. And new sectors like defense, water, railways, things which did not happen in the past are happening now. So to fund them, banks are important. And again, PSU banks are important. And some of the corporate banks, maybe ICICI, Axis Bank. Kotak and all were never really big in the corporate space. Even HDFC bank was never big in the corporate space. Yeah, so I think it's a combination of the PSU banks like the SBIs, Union Bank, Bank of India, and ICICI, Axis Bank are the ones well positioned to take care of the next leg of growth.
Okay, that's a fair assessment that it's a corporate expansion-led rally within the banking space. Therefore, SBI, ICICI, Axis, and maybe Union as well. Mr. Lokpriya, where is fresh money which is coming towards you getting deployed? Do you have any sectoral favorites, any stock favorites that you can share with our audience?
I think it has to be a combination of both mid caps as well as large caps. Despite the recent regulated directive on, not directive, or rather guidelines on large cap versus mid cap, I think most of the spend that's happening by the various government entities, all the capex, the primary beneficiaries are actually from the broader market and not the large cap. And therefore, if you'll take the large cap, the 50 stocks, of course, other than the financials and Larsen & Toubro, So therefore, I think we have to continue to look. Now, NTPC, PSU, it's a Nifty constituent, very well poised because they will benefit from both thermal as well as renewables. And they'll also benefit from taking over some of the troubled companies, financially troubled companies in the private sector. With, the growth, power growth, set for very strong growth for the next many, many years. It still trades only at about only 1.4, 1 times book value, and therefore, I think NTPC looks very good.
Okay. So NTPC is a pick that Chakri has picked up, which will benefit from both thermal as well as renewable, progress that we will be seeing going forward from here in terms of projects and awards as well. Chakri, I also wanted to understand from you, the winners of the past, are they raising any kind of fears that, one should book out the profits and move away to those sectors that have not performed? Similarly, what you pointed out, power sector, that's had a stupendous run up already. PSU banks is something that we've been discussing quite a lot. That has had a stupendous run up. Defense, railways, are they raising any fears that, better to book your profits out and perhaps shift to those sectors which have not performed? Or do you still think there's a lot of leg to this rally?
Two things over there. One, in terms of the winners, I think will continue to win.
Okay.
Simply because the order momentum, business momentum is on their side. We just talked about NTPC. It still trades only at about 1.3 times, 1.4 times book value. So even after all the 100% run up over the last 1 year, it's still a very inexpensive stock. Now, and you can repeat the story across many companies in the PSU, in Bharat Electronics. This company continues to win orders, which the business momentum is continuing to be very strong. The ROEs of the companies have improved. The PE of the company is only at about 20 odd times. And therefore, even though it's had a fantastic run up, I think it'll still do well. Same story, Hindustan Aeronautics. So like that, the list is quite big. I think these companies will continue to do well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what you also really briefly pointed out, I wanted to extend that point. You briefly talked about how the regulator, SEBI, had in the last week talked about how there could be further risks, and it directed AMFI to take some steps and mention what are the steps that they are taking to protect investors' money. Because in the past, what we've seen is those investors who pulled up their money or like took their profits early were the ones that benefited, but the ones that remained, perhaps they really faced the brunt of it. Do you think this latest directive will further limit the flows that are coming in the mid and the small caps, and what should be a fresh investor strategy now towards these pockets?
It's rarely that a regulator in any other country, big country, gets into valuation of markets. But in any case, I think all the various fund houses do have very strong, good processes in place in terms of stock exposure, sector exposure. So these are already in place. And third, equity is a risk category, risk asset. So which means it can go up much more, it can fall much more. What I think, because of this whole thing, the multi-cap funds will probably see a greater inflow because they have the flexibility of changing the percentage weights between large and the broader market. But again, sector-specific or capitalization-specific funds, if it's a mid-cap fund, then they will continue to need to invest in mid-caps. So I think multi-cap, so which means some of the pockets of large caps have in any case underperformed. So I think they're like, for example, NTPC. Not NTPC is not underperformed, but you can still deploy money. ONGC, you can still deploy money. Oil India. So I think that's the balance which the market will find itself.
Okay. Chakriya, let's drill this rally a little deeper. Newer and sectors are participating with a vengeance now. The broader markets are showing a lot of traction on the long side, especially the NSE 500 index, which is the broadest measure that we track. Do you see any build-up in bubbles across sectors? Any pain points you think which might manifest themselves in a couple of months where retailers can be careful?
If you look at many of the companies have actually gone up 2 times, 3 times, 4 times in the last couple of years. And therefore, one needs, as a what you call stock-specific investor, individual retail investor needs to watch out for valuations, and or the choice is to invest in funds because then the risks are taken care of by professional people. But in terms of overall bubbles or not, clearly bubbles will always exist in individual stock. But I think the overall market is still very reasonably priced, both the large caps as well as the broader market. And therefore, there is no what you call systemic risk in that one needs to worry about.
Okay. Now that we have a fresh start to the rally in the Nifty as well as the banking sector, in fact, across the board, I mean, if you look at indices in great detail, there are signs that this one's going to blow out really big. For a new person coming into this market, Chakri, what would you suggest?
I think that for a new person, clearly, investing in funds is probably the safest way out, simply because there are professional people taking care. But if they do want to invest in individual stocks, then sticking to companies where the earnings growth is fairly strong, the outlook is very strong, is probably the best way to do. Companies like SBI, NTPC, ONGC, Bharat Electronics, all these companies are not only market leaders, but they also with reasonable valuation. So that would be the approach, rather than trying to pick a very high PE stock with no attendant growth behind it, would be the way to avoid some of the pitfalls.
Okay. Chakri, the momentum spaces, let's discuss those. We did see metals coming back in flavor last week. But the new fresh report from CLSA that has downgraded nearly three of the top performers from the steel basket. So Tata Steel, JSW Steel, JSPL, they've downgraded and cut their target prices, talking about weaker Indian spreads as well. How would you look at the metal space currently? Because we were of the thinking that perhaps when the global markets are all up and about, interest rate cuts may be happening soon. This may be a space to watch out for.
You're absolutely right. If you look at metals, have underperformed in the last couple of years for well-known reasons because of the global slowdown. Their valuations are fairly reasonable now. If you look at Tata Steel's, Hindalco's in the front line or in the second line, companies like Lloyd's, Metal and Energy, those companies are trading at the broader market, trading at probably 4 times EV, but the Tata Steels are trading probably at 5 to 6 times. So the valuations are still very reasonable. So, and they're usually the first beneficiaries of when the interest rate cycle starts going down, because their cost of capital comes down quite dramatically, and they are the early cyclicals which benefit. So, and when that happens, when interest rates cut, it's not just interest rates coming down, economies also recover, and therefore the first beneficiaries will be metals. Given all this, I think one can still buy into the metal space.
Okay. With that background in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's tighten our seatbelts and get ready for pre-opening quotes as far as the markets are concerned. We are on a fresh Monday morning, and the Nifty seems to be in a sideways to lower trajectory for the initial part. That's not a problem at all. We've seen these prices and they will improve. Absolutely flat on the index, 22,373. Let's look at the index heavyweights and see signs of green and red. Tata Motors, no surprise there. I think we'll see 4 digits today, already at a record high, 997 for you, about 1% higher. Let's look at the index heavyweights. Reliance, flat absolutely, 2983, consolidating near record highs. Let's look at Infosys, 6 rupees 30 paisa lower, 1650. Nothing much to be worried about. Let's look at HDFC Bank, about a third of a percent, about 3/4% lower, 1420. Now, what else is in the green? We have ITC consolidating around the 415 level, up 0.67%. L&T, which was the top performer on Friday, is moving ahead at 3657, fresh record high here. Bajaj Finance, a third of a percent higher, 65.95. Let's look at the F&O stocks in terms of beyond index heavyweights. It's auto all the way. M&M leading at 1.73% higher, 19.9 1994. There is a smart gain coming into the entire power pack. NTPC 2.2% higher, 349. IEX, this is the energy exchange, 2.8% higher, 155. Let's look at the most active counters. Any fresh names that come up for me? Nothing much here. Let's look at the NSE 500 and look at top gainers here. Okay. Suven Pharma 4% higher, 749. Data patterns after yesterday's 5% uptick is 3.5% higher. Let's look at some themes that are coming up. I think power, Torrent Power 2.2% higher, 11.74. Nothing much happening here in terms of themes coming in. Let's look at the losers side. A 5% downtick on Suzlon, 41.85. Scient Limited is 2% lower, 1990. Anything else that's interesting on the red side? Nothing much. We'll wait for this market to settle down. The index as flat as it can be, 6 points higher, 22,385. Remember, Friday was a blowout on the Nifty. Today, most likely, you'll see a consolidative phase. The index trying to digest what has been a fantastic start for March and what has been a fantastic ending of the last week. So a bit of a sideways to strong trend coming in. Let's look at the PSU basket. Any major gainers here apart from NTPC? MOIL 2.5% higher, 289. This is manganese ore. The company has announced its performance for the month of February in terms of outputs, which is at a record high. Let's look at the high beta space. Anything that's clicking on the green side? Nothing much that I can make out. We'll avoid this space. We are also waiting for Mr. Akshay Bhagwat to join us. He's the Senior Vice President at Derivatives Research at JM Financial. Yes, he's through. Very good morning to you, Akshay, and a warm welcome on Market Today. Any view on Bank Nifty? That's the only major index that is still to hit a record high.
Good morning, Shailji. So very powerful and positive start for the March series for the indices, and the way the setup is in Bank Nifty, it has regained its lost glory in just a couple of trading sessions. So the setup is indicating a build up for retest of its all-time high levels, roughly around 48,500. If you are day trader, then there is a slight resistance at 47,500 that may bother you only for a day or two, but it's a buy on dip in case the resistance is not taken off. 47,500, as I mentioned, is a day trading resistance, but if you get it at 47,000, buy it Bank Nifty again. I think the setup is indicating all-time highs of 48,500 to be revisited in this week itself.
Okay. Good morning to you, Akshay, and good to have you with us. Any particular stocks that you'll be watching out for today?
Yes. One of the top stock picks I would have would be Coal India. If you look at the setup here, the support of 440, 435 has been strongly held on to. This has been a kind of an underperformer in terms of price action in the last few trading sessions, but my thought is that the prices are setting up for a strong rebound. 480, which is the recent swing high which we saw a few sessions back, might be retested. So I'll be keen on buying Coal India at the current rates. I'll keep a stop loss below 440 and a target of 480 on Coal India, where I believe the momentum may resurge soon.
Okay. Right. So NTPC from Chakri and Coal India we've got from Akshay today. Clearly the energy space is going to be in focus right now. All right, Akshay, what about these real estate players? Of course, the real estate story was going strong in the last week. And again, we have some newer projects being announced, some record sales being announced. So stocks like Signature Global, Brigade, Godrej Properties, anything from this basket that looks positive to you on the charts?
DLF has been a very strong mover in this entire space, and the belief is that this will continue to move up very strongly. So, if you're interested in buying a very strong name where the momentum is present, where gains can be short, even in the short term, then DLF would be the top bet among the real estate space. At 922, this stock is setting up for a move for 975 odd levels for the March series. The support is roughly around 890, so recommend a buy in DLF. And here the other stock which is slightly beaten down is Oberoi Reality. It is building a base, as I understand, at the levels of 1300. So here is a candidate which might be a reversal from a trading perspective. 1500 would be the target I would be looking for, and the support is around 1300 in Oberoi Reality.
Okay. Akshay, let's revisit the Nifty bank scenario as also the Nifty. Any particular call that you are looking to sort of follow, if not buy, in the initial part of the trade? Bank Nifty especially, we closed at about 47,406. How does 47,500 expiring on 6th March look to you?
Yes, Bank Nifty is definitely a very strong buy. It is just for the day trading session, there is a slight resistance at 47,500. But, if you are open to the trade of buying it on slight dip and for the coming week, that's the Wednesday's expiry, then as I understand, 300 to 250 would be the range where you can accumulate this call. If that breakout of 47,500 basis spot Bank Nifty is seen, you can have a strong momentum regain in Bank Nifty, and easily this call can be a doubler, or at least 50% gain in premium is what I see in case Bank Nifty revisits level of 48,000 in this weekly expiry.
Okay. Now, the reason why we mentioned this particular call is that one, the momentum is very strong within the Bank Nifty space, and given the fact that the weekly expiry is 2 days away, you just might see momentum coming into 47,500. Which is closed at about 312 rupees. We'll get the price once it opens. So accumulate that between 300 and 250 rupees if it slips lower, because you're facing a resistance at that point of time. And then let's see it. The all-time high for this call is 701 rupees. Coming to you, Mr. Lokpriya, anything that catches your fancy in the FMCG space? We've avoided this like plague, but this is something that is still nowhere near record highs and probably giving an opportunity. Would you have a favorite in FMCG, or would you stay away?
FMCG as a space, has underperformed due to well-known reasons, weaker consumer spend, as well as no major product innovation. But within the consumer space, there are some names, like, for instance, we recently looked at Eureka Forbes. It's a water purifier company with a huge, there's a change in management. The balance sheet has been cleaned up. And, with the whole emphasis on health and hygiene, the valuations are on its side, earnings growth is strong. So Eureka Forbes looks good.
Okay, and that's an interesting pick. We'll keep an eye out on that one as we move along as well. Autos is one space that I wanted to discuss with you, Chakri. We've got recently the February print. Do you finally see that there is some optimism building up as far as the two-wheeler space is concerned? Rural recovery, is it showing itself up as well? And four-wheelers versus two-wheelers, where exactly would you keep your focus on? We've seen some stunning moves come in on M&M, Bajaj Auto, record high levels for TVS Motors, and the likes, and of course Tata Motors from the four-wheelers pack that continues to stun everyone on the upside. How would you really place your fresh bets here?
If you look at the most recent automobile volumes, it has been two-wheelers the fastest, after that passenger vehicles, after that commercial vehicles, and after that farm vehicles, in that order. So two-wheelers have grown the fastest, 13, 14, 15%. Passenger vehicles about 10, 11%. So if you look, so therefore, the winners there in that space, TVS Motors will continue to do well, including, Hero Motors will do well, because, they have both products lined up on the regular IC engines as well as in the EV space, and that's an evolving space. And they're also the first beneficiaries of an interest rate cuts, as and when that happens. So second, again, but what has not done well is the farm space. But Escort company, I think, will do well. But even though, because after the Kubota is coming in, bunch of new products, and therefore will broaden their slate. And that's a company which is looking good on the farm space.
Okay, Escorts Shibota. We will keep an eye out on that one too. Quickly, Akshay, would you also give us your top pick from the auto space now for this fresh week?
Well, here, if you look at the auto space, a lot of names are showing good strength, especially TVS Motors is the stock I would be looking forward to. We had a breakout on Friday's trading session at the levels of 2180 that just sets up the stock for a target of 2300 plus. So TVS Motors is the first name I would have. And second is Maruti, which again saw a strong momentum resurge on Friday's trading session. This has a very strong technical setup and being an outperformer in the auto space lately. At the support of 11,200, this stock can be the another multi-bagger from here. Easily, I see trading targets till 11,850 to 11,900 in the March series itself. So buy Maruti and buy TVS Motors. These would be the top bets from the auto space.
Okay. What we'll do, viewers, is we'll take a very quick break. When we return, we will have both our guests, Chakri and Akshay, with us to now help us navigate through the opening trades now, very soon.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines, and many other sectors.
Welcome back. You're watching Market Today on Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra with Shail Bhatnagar, and we are in conversation with Chakri Lokre and Akshay Bhagwat, who are both helping us navigate through the market moves. The Nifty is, settled in the pre-opening trade about 25 points higher in trade, and we're also looking at some upticks coming in on, the broader markets and the Nifty Bank as well. So we'll keep an eye out on how the markets really take shape. Akshay, to you, technically speaking, which is the sector that's looking strongest on the charts now that's, now getting ready for a fresh leg of rally?
It has to be metals. The way the sector has started off the March series, there are a lot of stocks which are possible breakout candidates or possibly on the verge of breakout. So metals is one sector which has been very strongly backed by the derivatives and technicals piece of data. Here's to name a few stocks. One would be Jindal Steel and Power, which is almost trading at its lifetime high. You had a strong breakout here on Friday's trading session at the levels of 800. This sets up the stock on the momentum parameters as well as from a medium term perspective. Clearly 900 plus is where the stock should be heading for, and this has a support base now set at 800. Tata Steel is another stock you can have on your watch list, a possible breakout candidate, not yet broken out but almost on the verge of breakout as it stands today at levels of 155, 156.
Right,
If the
sir.
breakout matures, you can see a strong up move in Tata Steel.
Okay. The pre-open prices have now morphed into the opening trades. Nifty is opening 45 points higher, 22,421. This is a positive, with 22,400 now being with the bulls. A mild uptick on the Nifty Bank, 54 points higher. IT has opened flat. The Nifty 500, the broadest index, is up 36 points to a fresh high. Let's look at the index heavyweights. Okay, one good thing is that all 9 out of 10 stocks are in the green. Let's look at HDFC Bank, 2 rupees 25 paisa higher, 1433. What's Infosys doing? Now flattening out, 1652, 2 rupees 30 lower. How about HDFC Bank? Flat 1433. The Nifty is also petering out so far. Okay, which are the top gainers as far as index heavyweights are concerned? There is a strong move coming in on Bajaj Finance ahead of the Fin Nifty expiry tomorrow. 26 rupees higher, 66.10. Remember, this counter is below 200 DMA. Kotak Bank is third of a percent higher, 17.29. There isn't much happening in index heavyweights. Let's just shift focus to beyond this space and look at top gainers within the Nifty. NTPC, 2.6% higher. This is something to watch out for. I'll request Akshay to keep a chart ready. This is the top gainer as far as the Nifty is concerned, 2.7% higher, 350.90. It's moving towards its all-time high trajectory. Maruti, 0.5% higher at about 1166.20. Coal India Power Grid. Again, this is the auto theme the energy theme that is coming up. ONGC 274, 0.7% higher. This is something to look at. So NTPC, which was Chakri Lokpriya's top stock at the moment, is the top gainer. 3.5% higher, 352. Without further delay, Akshay, a very, very quick take on NTPC, and then we'll get into the broader markets. Your cue there.
A very strong chart setup on NTPC, and as I understand, it's broken past its swing high. The trend is strong, and as I see, the stock is heading for levels of 375 from a short-term trading perspective. 340 is the support. Continue to hold or buy NTPC at the current levels. A positive view which I maintain on the stock.
Okay, now let's drill down in the market a bit wider. Let's look at the NSE 500 and see what's buzzing in the broader markets. Okay, now firstly, the index is gaining strength, which is 21 points higher, 20,443. Okay, these are heavyweight stocks that are moving. East India Hotels, 3.7% higher, 421. Indian Energy Exchange, 3.7% higher, 157. This is again across the board the power theme. NTPC 3% higher, 353. SGVN 1.9% higher, 123.20. BHEL 2.1% higher, 240. Oil India 605, 2.2% higher. So this is how the markets are moving. Let's look at the FNO space where markets are in a nice uptick. It's power all the way. IEX, NTPC, BHEL are the top winners. Akshay, you've already commented on NTPC. Anything else that catches your fancy for the moment? The Nifty now 41 points higher, 22,419. IEX, baby.
Well, if I look at the chart of IEX here, IEX, yes, it's broken a possible resistance zone in day trading. That's a positive setup. 154 is the breakout point. 170 is the target area the stock is setting up for. A short-term momentum stock, yes, IEX should be on your watch list. And Power Grid is another stock from the power space you can look forward to. Again, another buzzing stock regaining its momentum. It's been a bit slow off lately, but I believe now we will see a surge in momentum which can take the stock to 310 plus in the short term. So buy Power Grid. That will be the another recommendation I would have from the power sector.
Okay, so it's power all the way. Earlier, NTPC was given by Chakri and Coal India by you, and now Power Grid also gets added to the list of strong movers. Chakri, would you want to add to any more power names that one can look at? Maybe on the likes of SJVN or, something which is news, a point also when it's moving fast enough?
I think Power Grid fundamentally also looks very strong.
Okay.
Because transmission as a space, I think, well, it will continue to gain very strong momentum.
Power Grid is what you will give your vote as well to. Okay.
Indeed.
All right. Let's look at the, some of the other movers in this space. The PSU banks, again, very strong move coming in on this one again. And we're seeing a 0.5% move on the upside. So stocks like Union Bank, Canara Bank, Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Bank of Baroda, they're all in the positive zone right now. Akshay, anything that strikes you from the PSU banking space?
It has to be State Bank of India. The momentum is very strong in this counter, and a bit off lately in the last few trading sessions, consolidating, now regaining its momentum at 775. This stock is possibly heading for 825 targets for the March series. So I would buy State Bank at the current levels, even on slight dips. It's a very attractive buy. Support is 750 and 825 is the target I look forward in the March series.
Okay. Chakri, would you also be positive on SBI, or are there the lower rung, the second rung PSU banks that catch your fancy even now?
SBI looks good. And in addition, Union Bank of India, they recently concluded a QIP of 3,000 crores. Their balance sheet is very strong. Valuations are on their side. So Union Bank of India also looks very strong fundamentally.
Okay. Sakshi, we'll focus back on power only. That's the one that's moving. And the index in any case is at a record high, the BSC Power Index. Let's look at Tata Power. There's a breakout about to happen. Akshay, gathering your attention please. Tata Power for you, now at its highest since 9th of February. What are the charts of Tata Power telling you at 386.20 in cash?
If you look at a slightly longer term charts, weekly charts have been in a consolidative mode. It's been stuck in a range around 375, 385, but my sense is that this will see a strong upside very soon. If you are interested from a medium term buy, this is the stock you should have on your watch list. Easily it should see lifetime highs of 425 plus. Positive momentum has started off today post breaking the levels of 385. So buy as a day trader. Day trading targets can be as high as 393, but I would say keep buy this positionally. 425 plus or a long term bet is what suits the kind of setup Tata Power currently is in.
Okay, we'll also show you the 385 call for Tata Power. At the moment, this is trading at day's high 1483. You need to keep this call in mind. This is a positional call that Akshay is mentioning on the underlying stock. The all-time high is 2386 for this particular one. And let's see whether we are able to show you this on screen or not. The 385 call in the options space, PCR, if they can be fired. Akshay, your very quick view on this particular option trade.
Yes, I mean, as I shared with a positive view on Tata Power, if we were to buy this call of strike of 385, yes, this can be a multi-bagger or almost a 2x kind of a gainer if the view which I shared on Tata Power plays out. Right now, as I understand, the stock is on the verge of regaining momentum. So that's a good point where you can consider buying this call. You can even average it out slightly in case of a dip with a stop loss of 9 odd rupees on this trade. And if it works out, then 21, 22 is what your targets will be in case Tata Power manages to get past the level of 400 very soon.
Okay, and there is a breakout in BHEL as well, Akshay. Very quickly on that one.
Yes, so even in BHEL, the other day on Friday too, we did see it trying to get past its breakout zone. Today, it has successfully seen a very strong breakout. This is clearly an intraday setup buy for me at the levels of around 290, 240 odd levels where it trades. This can easily see upside targets till around 260, 265 from a short-term perspective. So I would say consider buying BHL even as a day trader or a short-term trader. The momentum is very strong, strongly picked up in this stock.
Okay, a strong momentum, 5% now higher for BHEL. It's moving up very, very sharply, 248 right now. And even Coal India, your peak, Akshay, is moving strongly, a percent higher in trade right now. Chakri, would you want to make a comment on either of these stocks, Tata Power, BHEL, Coal India, where you also feel that investors can continue to keep a watch?
BHEL and Coal India both are looking very good fundamentally. Because if you rewind back again to the story of many, many years ago, BHEL was a favorite. Then it fell off the radar for various reasons. Now it's back in the space with a renewed thrust on power. So that clearly, yes. And Coal India, there's still the dividend deal of the stock is about close to 5.5%. So fundamentally, Coal India also looks very good.
Okay. Extending the power space or the energy space to the gas stocks. Now, the oil and gas story is also looking promising today. Oil India, for example, is again moving up 2.3% higher. You have Gujarat Gas, GAIL, Indraprastha Gas, Mahanagar Gas, all of them moving up into ONGC as well. Anything from this basket, Akshay, that you can spot that looks positive on the charts?
I will bet on ONGC. It's a government company, and BHEL, Coal India, probably along with them, ONGC tags too. And I feel at 274, this is another stock which has a very strong setup. It is gaining momentum slowly and setting up for targets of around 290 to 300. Yes, buy ONGC at the current rates. Maybe not a day trade, but from short-term perspective, surely there is a lot of juice more left in ONGC from the current rates.
Okay, got that. Chakri, would you have a comment on IEX? I mean, we've seen several regulatory moves in the past that has led to a lot of volatility in this stock. I mean, of course, this is one stock that has been a big mover of the past, but the future still looks pretty volatile and uncertain. How would you be really looking at this company?
IEX, for the very reason that there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty relating its pricing and how the volumes will be priced. I think there are enough power stocks out there that one can invest in, and therefore I would stay away on the sidelines for IEX.
Okay. Right. All right,
Okay,
let's quickly
Sakshi,
look at...
let's look at other spaces that have started to move. Sakshi, just a moment, please. ONGC, this is something to be looked at for two reasons. One, crude is at a 2.5, 3-month high, and that's impacting positively. Coming to you, Akshay, again, we'll discuss the derivatives a little later, but what is ONGC telling you in terms of a swing trade?
In terms of a swing trade, the recent swing highs, which we saw somewhere in the month of February, it will be retested. That's 281. So that's the swing trading target, 281, 285. If it's a short-term trade, so 285 is the target you can work with from a swing trading perspective. But the setup is more promising. Slightly better targets can be 300, but with a slight holding of 8 to 10 trading sessions.
Okay, we'll also come back to the option call on Tata Power that we had discussed, the 385 call. That has now hit a high of 1530. It's the momentum that's picking up in terms of volume and price. 388.60 in futures. And let me just look at what the open interest is. The counter is 1.6% higher. The open interest hasn't moved, but this is something that you need to look at. So, Sakshi, the entire energy space, so to say, is moving. Also on the move is Gas Authority of India. This is something that needs to be looked. We are again focusing on high beta, low ticket items, although Gas Authority is at a record high. It's climbing further. A view coming in from you, Akshay, on GAIL.
So ONGC, GAIL, Coal India, all are moving in tandem, government stocks, and I believe some momentum is regaining in these names. As it currently reads, a support of 184 is pretty evident right now from a trading perspective. It has broken the levels of 185, which was a prior resistance. It's a positive technical setup, which is aiming for targets of 195 to 198 in the short-term trading perspective. So yes, go long on GAIL India at the current rates. 195 is the target you can look forward to.
Okay, so this is something that's moving. Sakshi, I think you wanted to mark Bank of India. I'm so sorry, Bank of Baroda in the PSU banking sector. This is the one that's showing a fairly decent uptick. I've seen a block deal worth 5.5 crore rupees happening for 2,01,000 shares. Sakshi.
Absolutely. We discussing with Chakri, there are a whole lot of these PSU banking names as well. Bank of Baroda, how does this look to you, Chakri, at this point in time?
Bank of Baroda fundamentally is still a very reasonably valued company. It trades probably at about 0.8, 0.9 times book value. The balance sheet has improved. The margins of this company will improve in the coming quarters once the interest rate cycle starts, once the interest rates peak and they start coming down. So given all these factors, that I think the capital adequacy is very strong. I think therefore fundamentally Bank of Baroda looks fine.
Okay, huge kudos to you, Chakri. NTPC is at a fresh record high. Huge move there, and that was the first stock that you discussed before the markets even hit pre-open. 350 right now, very strong move on that one. And to you also, Akshay, you picked up a power grid that's also hit a fresh record high as well. So those are the stocks that are really in the thick of action. But let me just shift gear a little. Ask Chakri on Zomato. That's also hit a fresh record high again, 172 right now. What is your exact sense on Zomato? And do you think your thought process has turned more favorably after the recent positives that we've seen on the earnings?
The company is basically trying to shift its focus towards profitability rather than volume growth. Um, I don't know if that's a good thing or not because all these companies were valued on the fact that they were all growth companies and they need to go really, really fast, and therefore at some point in the future, their earnings will grow far more profitably than they are today. So, given the fact that it's already run up a fair little bit, I think I would stay away from Zomato at current levels.
Okay, so that's Zomato. Akshay, would you want to give a technical view as well on this one?
Yeah, so Zomato, an outperformer. There's no stopping the stock the way the prices have been. It's got past its lifetime highs of 168. So it's a very strong momentum in this counter. Now the prior breakout zone will act as a support. So 165, 168 is the support zone for Zomato. A positive setup, but a bit overstretched for comfort. So as a new entrant or a fresh buyer, wait for slight dips in this counter. If you're holding the stock, there is no reasons to worry. 200 plus targets may be on very soon.
Okay, Sakshi, what we'll do is it's 9:33. Let's take a detour in the broader markets. The two main indices are doing nothing. Nifty 15 points higher, Bank Nifty 90 points higher. IT slipping a bit, and the Nifty 500 flat. Okay, we tracked 19 indices for you, and about 7 of them are in the red, led by the Nifty Media Index. Shouldn't be worried about that. The Nifty Energy Index and the Pharma Index are taking it away. 1% higher on the energy index, 40,150. And we've discussed a plethora of stocks starting from NTPC, BHEL, Coal India, Tata Power, ONGC, Gas Authority. Okay. The pharma space we haven't tackled as yet. We'll take a look on that one too. Broader markets, Sakshi, are favoring bears today. Almost 1,200 stocks on the National Stock Exchange are in the red, 933 in the green. Let's look at where we see strong momentum in terms of all-time high. Sakshi, Zomato is an all-time high. Okay, 4% higher. Chakri's made it very clear he's not chasing momentum. So that's interesting. But a very, very big win for, how should I say, the internet space in India. A stock that has been pilloried, a stock that has been, talked about in all sorts of terms that one really shouldn't be mentioning, is now at a record high, and a new set of momentum chasers will come in. There's no stopping BHEL now, 249. Let's look at the volume picture on this one. I just want to see how BHEL is moving in terms of volume buzzers. Okay, let me just reduce this space to the BSC PAR index. Okay, we've seen 7.2 lakh shares traded on BHEL at 249. I would imagine this is the wrong index. Just a moment, please. This is something that needs to be checked a little correctly. Let's look at the Nifty Energy Index. Okay, this is where we see it. Okay, a fairly sharp breakout. I think 250 is just a formality that's coming in. Let's look at the broader charts for BHEL because an order worth 17,000 crore rupees in terms of capacity expansion at NTPC is very, very good news. Okay, gentlemen, what you see is the highest level since June 2011. Chakri, is the market chasing momentum or is the market chasing value in BHEL?
Clearly there is a lot of business momentum in the case of BHEL and in the power space. So I think, that as a space where BHEL is looking good and all the other names that we've discussed. So business momentum is on their side and clearly will continue to buy.
Okay. All right. The pharma space is getting interesting now. SMS Pharma, 5.5% higher. Natco Pharma is taking it away, 3.5% up in trade right now. Oro Pharma is moving up. You have Dr. Reddy's, that's 2.3% higher in trade as well. Strong moves coming in across the board. Biocon is up 2% as well. Zydus Life, Glenmark Pharma, the entire pack is seeing some momentum coming in. Chakri, how would you look at the entire pharma space right now? Especially, I want to also ask you on the hospital pack. This space was very volatile the last week on the back of Supreme Court's, direction coming in. We still are awaiting the developments that will continue over the next few weeks as well. How are you looking at this entire pharma hospital space as well?
One on the hospitals, clearly it was an unrealistic and unreasonable expectation that private hospitals pricing should be similar to the government hospitals. There's nowhere in the world that happens like that. Second, India as a space, hospital beds are still at an all-time, are nowhere close to the global averages or even the emerging market averages like Taiwan, Korea. And therefore, these kind of directives on pricing, etc., will only hurt the sector and won't help it. And therefore, I think therefore it probably has a very low probability of being implemented in the current form. And as far as Dr. Pharma is concerned, I think Dr. Reddy, is looking good fundamentally, strong pipeline. There was some negative news, but that's more a routine negative news. And I think one can buy Dr. Reddy, given that its pipeline is looking strong and earnings are set to accelerate in the next couple of quarters.
Okay. Akshay, anything from the pharma pack that interests you currently on the charts?
Yes. Pharma space, you can consider Lupin. Lupin is trading in a very strong trajectory. Today, the momentum has regained. It's staged a breakout at the levels of 13636. So 1700 plus is the target it is setting up for. Buy Lupin, support is 1630. And the second trade would be Zydus Life here. Zydus Life too has a very strong chart structure. Again, the momentum here is regaining after a slight consolidation. 965, 970 plus targets are on in the stock. So Zydus Life and Lupin would be the top bets in the pharma space if one has to consider.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Chakri, on that note, we'd like to thank you for speaking to us on Business Today TV and sharing with us all your insights on the markets and several stock ideas that you've shared with us. Always a pleasure to host you, and we will get you back very soon on Business Today television. Viewers, what we'll do is we'll take a very quick break on this note. On the other side, Akshay will be with us to help us navigate through the last 15 minutes of trade on this morning trading session as well. So stay with us.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Welcome back. You're watching Market Today on Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi, with me Shail Bhatnagar, and we are now in conversation with Akshay Bhagwat and looking at various stocks that are really building up in momentum. So it's Dr. Reddy's. We were talking about this stock before the markets, before the break, and the stock has now moved up to the top spot on the Nifty movers, 2.5% higher in trade. And along with it, I'm looking at Sun Pharma, Cipla. These are the other pharma majors that have now taken some positive moves that are looking very, very interesting at this point in time. Along with it, the auto names are also looking positive at this point. So stocks like Bajaj Auto, Maruti Suzuki, they're the ones that are picking up some pace. From the banking space, you have Kotak Mahindra Bank, you have ICICI Bank, that's moving up in trade as well. And from the NBFC space, Bajaj Finance looks a little positive at this point. However, when we look at the sectors, some of the sectors are actually coming under some kind of profit booking pressure that we can see. So, PSU banks have slipped into the red. You have IT that slipped into the red. You have mid caps and the small caps that have also slipped into the red. About half odd percent of a decline coming in on the small caps. Metals about 1% lower in trade, and this is after that CLSA report that we were referring to earlier as well. So that's the pressure that the metals are facing as of now. Oil and gas, healthcare, realty, and private banks. These are the sectors that are still holding up into trade. Akshay, would you look at the metal space? We were looking at this space to be, perform, in a better trajectory going forward. But this CLSA report has actually come in as a dampener, I believe, and therefore we see the metal stocks dragging. How would you look at them afresh?
Day traders' minds, as I see slight bit of profit booking. But broadly, the way the March series has started off for for the metal sector, a couple of metal stocks staging a breakout, Tata Steel on the verge of breakout. So the positioning or the setup on the price front is very strong. So the dip which you might get in day trading might be an opportunity to buy. As I see it, some of the strong names in metals would be Jindal Steel and Power, Tata Steel, and JSW Steel. So these are the three metal names which still have a very strong positive setup in the metal space, and would recommend to buy it on dips as soon as you get for significant upsides in the March series.
Okay. All right. That's as far as the metal pack is concerned. But it's BHEL that is absolutely showing stupendous strength in trade today. Now almost 8% higher at 254 odd levels. We've discussed this stock. Would you look at a fresh at 254 levels BHEL? Akshay, tell us, would you revisit the targets now?
Absolutely. I mean, as a positional targets, we saw this stock 265 is the targets which I projected in our discussion today. And the way the momentum is, the day trading targets itself can be as high as 258, 259, the way the momentum is. So very powerful breakout at 240. I believe from a positional or a medium term perspective, you should continue to hold this. From a longer term perspective, maybe 320 is the target one can look forward to with a 6 months horizon. So BHEL is one stock you should have in your portfolio angle too. So positive view on BHEL. Hold it from portfolio or medium term. All time frames are working well from BHEL the way the chart setup is.
Okay. Sakshi, BHEL in futures is showing an open interest uptick of 7.2%. And this is now, of course, the highest since we've seen in 2007. Therefore, a lot of momentum being built in. Let's shift focus from BHEL and get into the pharma space. Remember, this was the second best performing index so far. We'll put across Aurobindo Pharma to you, Akshay, one of the highest beta counters that I have seen. 3.5% higher, the top performer, and this is a sharp uptick of 3.7% in open interest as well. What does Aurobindo Pharma tell you?
Well, Aurobindo Pharma was one stock in the pharma sector which was slightly under pressure, vulnerable to profit booking in the prior series. But now the last few trading action makes it clear that this stock has regained its lost glory. 1,000 is the base which it has set up and has launched itself to revisit its swing high levels of 1175. So a positive setup. You may see levels of 1175 soon and higher targets eventually. So consider buying Aurobindo Pharma. better names from the pharma pack. Support at 1050 from a trading perspective. Short-term targets 1175, slightly longer-term targets 1200 plus.
Okay, we'll also look at an option call on this one, and we'll focus on the 1120 Aurobindo Pharma option call at expiring on 28th of March. This is now trading at 42 rupees. Of course, it's moved up very sharply. I think it's almost at its all-time high. We'll just show it to you and not take a view. This is something to be watched at. Maybe at lower levels, but it's moving very rapidly in terms of volume and price. Now somewhere like 43.14, up substantially since the morning. We had seen it at, just a moment, let me mark it, 41.20, it's up 12.80, and in the morning it was somewhere like 10 or 35 rupees. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Data patterns fell. That stock was in the move last week, and again, it's on the move again today. And if we look at the move that is coming in right now, it's very strong, about 7% odd. The stock has moved up 7.5% now at 3006 odd levels. And when we look at the last 5 days performance itself, the stock has moved up 13%. Last 1 month, stock has moved 60% almost as well. Data patterns, is that looking interesting even at these levels after the recent run up, Akshay?
Yes, there's no stopping this stock. In the last 4 weeks, it has been a fabulous move in this stock from 1800 to 3027. A bit overstretched for a fresh entrant at the current rates, highly overbought on the charts. There is no reversal or negative build up still, but for fresh entrant, a slight dip around 2850 would be a good buy from a risk reward payoff. The broader setup is indicating for targets of around 3100, 3150 odd levels. So hold the stock. The view is positive. It is just that the time horizon now slightly extends to maybe a month for those targets which I gave. Fresh entrants get into the stock at the levels of 2850 whenever the opportunity presents you.
Okay, and very high volume that can be seen, and strong move on data patterns. That's on the back of strong volumes to 150 crore rupees worth of trades done so far on data patterns. You can continue to move, keep an eye out on this one. It's now hit an all-time high level, 3016 right now on data patterns. A very strong move right there, and we'll continue to keep an eye out on that one. Akshay, why don't you also comment in the same breath on stocks like HAL, on stocks like L&T? These have also been big performers of the last week on the back of defense orders that were further extended to these companies.
HAL, yes, the chart is strong, but somewhere the momentum is slightly fading off at the level of 3150. So, not a day trading candidate as yet, but from a slightly medium term with an 8 to 10 day trading perspective, still you can consider holding the stock. The support is somewhere around 3100, and the broader targets I foresee in this is 3275. Right now, the momentum is chasing the power and the metal packs, so maybe defense is taking a backseat, but the momentum will regain soon. So yes, buy on dips in HAL. 3275 is the targets I foresee in this stock.
Okay, let's shift focus away from pharma as well as infrastructure space, and look at some other outperformers that are moving in the market. I'd like to also look at the auto ancillary space, point out Suprajit Engineering, 444 for you, 3.5% higher. There is Ucal Fuel Systems, 2% higher, 168.90. And of course, there is a company called Automobile Corporation of Goa. This is a bus maker where the parent is Tata Motors. The counter is up 2% on very low volumes, nevertheless at 1743. I would presume this is a fresh 52-week high. And Sakshi, one of our favorites in terms of discussion, Cochin Shipyard seems to be moving into a newer trajectory. 890 for you, and this one's moving on fairly decent volumes. I've just seen two block deals, 2 crores and 2.62 crores happening simultaneously on Cochin Shipyard. Maybe Akshay can throw a better light on this one.
Yes, so Cochin Shipyard is getting back to the limelight. Volumes are regaining strength, and 850, 860 odd levels is where the possible accumulation was seen in Cochin Shipyard. The way the setup is, 975 looks the probable targets in the stock. By Cochin Shipyard at the current rates, the setup is very strong. You will see a surge in momentum soon. 850 is the support, and probably 975 is the target you should be looking forward to.
Okay.
And Sakshi, exactly on cue, just as we've discussed Cochin Shipyard, I think now it's a sectoral move. We've seen a move coming in on Mazgaon Dock, 2120 for you. Nothing much in terms of price and volume, but this is something that you need to look at. So Cochin Shipyards is 2.6% higher. Another defense space, Zen Technologies at 971.50 is 2.2% higher. Garden Reach Shipbuilders is 2% higher. And now it's the turn for Mazgaon Dock to show some action, 1.2% higher, 2130. Sakshi, no stopping BHEL, 255.35.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And some large trades have now taken place worth 73 odd crores and 0.09% of equity exchanging hands on BHEL as well. And so therefore you see a very strong move on this one, 8% higher now for BHEL. No stopping this one. And this is something that we will continue to track as well. Anything else, Akshay, that catches your fancy at this point in time? Any other stock that you may have picked up?
Well, it has to be the power space because the rest of the stocks are slightly taking a breather here. Tata Power is one stock which we spoke about at the beginning of the show. So, although a bit off from the highs, but I would reconsider buying the stock slightly from a positional perspective. The setup has a potential to revisit 425 plus in the March series. A very strong base building up at around 375. So power space is the space one should be looking forward to. NTPC has been discussed. Tata Power is one which I would be very keen on the way the levels are at the current rates.
Okay, Tata Power is something that we'll keep an eye out on. And this entire power space is really showing some strong moves in trade today, and the entire space is in the buzzing zone. Apart from this, it's the private banks that are also picking up some pace. So you have IndusInd Bank, ICICI Bank moving up, Kotak Mahindra Bank, for example, showing some strength today. In the private banking space, Akshay, do you see merit in the move that we are seeing here, or is it just going to be to support an otherwise sideways move on the markets today?
In the banking space, if you see the prior month, the PSU banks kicked off the initial round of momentum. In the late half of the February series, the private banks kicked off the momentum. And I believe as we head into March, the private banks are going to outperform the PSU banks. Specifically, if you were to target names here, ICICI Bank and Kotak Bank. Kotak Bank specifically here is one which offers an excellent risk-reward perspective, the position at where it is poised. Time and again, if you see 1680, 1700 is the demand area, has been off in terms of slack in price momentum in the last couple of years, but again this is a demand area and the stock is rebounding strongly from the current levels. So consider buying Kotak Bank in the private banking space from the current levels. This bank may offer good rewards for the March month. Upside can be as high as 1800, support base is 1700.
Pause as far as markets are concerned and look at the broader picture. So we've had the first half an hour of trade today, and the Nifty, just as we had suggested in the morning commentary, will be flattening out after the massive uptick that you've seen on Friday. It's consolidating at record highs, and it's been a fabulous start for March, and we see strong traction today coming into select pharma stocks such as Aurobindo Pharma, Glenmark, Biocon, Natco Pharma, to name a few. Defense is on the boil. BEL fresh record high, 210.60. Fresh moves coming in on all the three shipbuilders, which is Cochin Shipyard 2.5% higher, Mazgaon, and of course Garden Reach. There is a volume uptick in Cochin Shipyard. Maybe there is something that you can look at. What else is clicking? Power. It's a very broad theme that's coming in. If you look at the Nifty Power Index, that's moving in very rapidly, and a strong move coming in there. Sakshi, look at Cochin Shipyard. We had caught it at 890 rupees, and in a span of less than 7 or 8 minutes, it's now crossed the 900 mark. Let's look at the all-time high on Cochin. This is somewhere like 946. This was last seen on 31st of March, 31st of January. So almost now the move coming in at a 2.5 week high on Cochin Shipyard. And this is a sectoral move. HAL, the three shipping players, as also BEL, that's moving up. In terms of record highs, as far as the NSE is concerned, let's look at them in terms of the moves coming in within the NSE 500. Data patterns is what Sakshi has discussed in detail. You have a record high on Zomato, 2.62% higher, 172. NTPC, Power Grid, GAIL. These are the three stocks that we've discussed, making fresh highs. You have Ambuja Cements, Tata Motors, Tata Consumer, and Tata Communications from the Tata Group hitting fresh highs. Sakshi, what are you watching?
Shail, Aditya Birla Capital, that stock has moved up very strongly in the F&O space, about 4% higher in trade as well. Akshay, before we thank you, would you give our last view on this one, please?
Yes. So, Aditya Birla Capital, just give me a minute.
It's right now trading at a 197 for the May futures, 4% high.
Yes, at 197 odd levels where Aditya Birla Fashion is you're saying Aditya Birla Fashion, or is it the other company?
Aditya Birla Capital.
Aditya Birla Capital. Okay, Aditya Birla Capital has a good setup. It is just that the momentum is slowly off, lately. But as I see at the levels of 193 where it currently trades, there is a strong support base at around 187. So it's in an accumulation mode. Might take some bit of time to regain its lost momentum, but I would recommend to accumulate in the levels of 187 to 190. Slight dip would make it more favorable from the risk reward payoff. Stop loss would be around 180, and a rebound from the current levels can see the stock testing 215 on the upside.
Well, many thanks, Akshay, for being with us onto this special edition, and always a pleasure to host you with us on Business Today. And, great to have you give us some fantastic calls today, including Power Grid, BHEL. Those are the stocks of the moment, and everybody will be looking at tracking as well. Many thanks for being with us. And thanks a lot, Shail, also for being with us. Let's quickly start wrapping up the markets. Flattish trade on the Nifty right now, just about 0.01% or dip, 22,374 currently. In terms of the top stocks, Dr. Reddy's 2.5% higher, NTPC, Power Grid, ONGC, Bajaj Auto, Bharti Airtel, and Kotak Mahindra Bank among the top movers as far as the Nifty is concerned. On the downside, the stocks that have not performed today on the Nifty: Metal Pack, Tata Steel, JSW Steel. On the downside, you have M&M, Eicher Motors, SBI Life, and Titan that have dragged on the Nifty. Among the sectors, oil and gas, healthcare, private banks, realty. These are the sectors that were definitely in the move today. On the futures, it was BHEL, now at 10%, and definitely a very, very strong move coming in on this stock as well. Some of the other stocks that moved in tow were Biocon, Tata Communications, IEX, Aditya Birla Capital from the F&O basket as well. A very strong move on the broader markets and the power front that we have discussed pretty widely on this edition. Many thanks, viewers, for being with us onto this show. But do stay tuned as we will continue to bring you all the moves that are impacting your markets, investments during the trading session as well. So stay with us. A lot more exciting conversations around IPOs also to follow through the trading session as well. So don't miss all the action.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.